All right, welcome back, everyone. So this is just going to be a quick status update on my series that I'm doing, where I read Lewis Rossman's guide on how to have a self-managed home network, where you're not having really critical applications like OpenVPN be jailed behind firmware from a proprietary device if available to you at all. And the advantage of that is you can stay up to date with the updates to the open source software as they happen, and you don't have to either buy a new device or trust the developers of the device you do have to be middlemen to take that update and then include that in their firmware and then push that firmware out to you as an update. You can just do it yourself. You can even just set it up to be done automatically. So the series I'm calling is Self-Manage Network. I've got two parts so far. And right now I'm at a pause because I need to um, before I download pfSense and prepare a bootable USB drive, I need to have something to install it onto. Now, Lewis recommends a Intel NUC. I kind of got a little bit, I got a little bit of a wrong idea about how much this is going to cost. Um, so he has all, and I read this out loud in my prior videos, but you can look on Amazon and you can see, you can get something around $200, even $300-400, but the amount of money you're going to save versus spending double that amount and getting something in the $500 range, even up to 1,000, doesn't make sense in the long run when it comes to choosing an Intel NIC. And I was under the impression, falsely, that I could get away with. So if we go to Discount Electronics, which is kind of my go-to place for looking for cheaper gear, I was under the impression that this would be perfect. And Lewis Rossman calls out in his guide specifically, this is not perfect. In fact, this is the exact thing you don't want to buy because it doesn't have the right kind of chipset and firmware and all that stuff that's never even mentioned on most even technical information. If you scroll down here to the details, all you see is there are 2x gigabit LAN RJ45. Well, what does that mean? That says nothing about an RJ45 is simply just the form factor for the connector. It's just a socket. It says nothing about the actual card that these RJ45 sockets belong to. And that's what you need to know because you're going to be installing software to run on that card. So if you don't know anything about that card, you don't know if the software you're installing is compatible or not. So that's a problem. And so you have to get more information. If you can't find that information, already right there, you probably shouldn't buy it because what if you buy it and it's the wrong actual like chipset and the wrong actual like hardware beyond just the socket connection. You have to worry about what's behind these sockets as well. If it's real tech, he calls out specifically, then it's not going to work for this project. So so for this one, luckily I was able to find more information because they still sell it new. They sell it new for $946, which is why I got the impression like, wow, I could get this used. This is going to be perfect. But if you look at the specifications, um, you can see Realtek. This is an Intel i219-V, so hey, like, that's what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for an Intel NUC. That's what this is. That's what's called out in the guide. Well, if you look at here, um, you know, they likely use Realtek chipsets, and it's just don't ever mix Realtek chipsets with pfSense, which is what this guide walks you through. So avoid using Realtek for firewall services. I mean, that's what we're using, and I think that's important to me as somebody who is a network engineer. We're not building a router, we're building a firewall. I think he's kind of conflating those terms, and I would like to submit that as errata. But you can see here when purchasing NICs, avoid Realtek at all costs. You cannot use Realtek and use pfSense. And again, we want to use pfSense because not only the benefits I mentioned before about certain applications no longer being in jail behind a firewall, we can use those services. We can run services on OpenVPN, and then anywhere I am in the world on my phone, all I do is log into my VPN to my home network, and I stream, you know, terabytes of video of a trip or whatever, and it goes back to my home network. So it's uh it's worth it, and then everything is modular and just as a learning exercise as well. Um, this can be a whole business just setting this up for small businesses. So here's the example product of something that he says will work. So he definitely recommends you get a real, and that's the other thing he says too is there can be fake Intel cards where you think it's an Intel, but you actually look at the card itself and it's a knockoff Intel, and they say Intel inside, but they don't actually mean it. So this one's out, well, unfortunately, because I like this price tag here, 170. That was really good, especially marked down from buying it new. It's like, wow, this is exactly what I need. This is good. But according to the guide, no, I'd be up S Creek without a paddle likely if I bought this. So this is what's called out explicitly in the guide. This is an Intel NIC. This is not a knockoff. This is what you want. And we can see that this is a good price, $60. But the problem is you got to connect it into something. You got to connect it into a PCIe port. So where do you get a PCIe port? You get it on a motherboard. Where do you get a motherboard? On the computer you already have, there's probably a motherboard on it. In fact, there definitely is a motherboard on it. If you're using a laptop, it won't connect into that. So you got to have a desktop PC. I do have a desktop PC, but I use it for, I don't want it to be tied down to be only used as a firewall. I have it on a wheelie cart that I can move in another room if I want. So I want it to be free and sovereign from my modem. So I don't want to use my desktop PC. So what should I do? I could get a NUC, which would be a lot. He doesn't call out a NUC specifically, but I did a ChatGPT analysis of what this might be. And yeah, 500, 600, up to 1,000, you're on the hook. And for a small business, if you're doing this for an actual like customer, um, yeah, you just got to be open and honest with them. Like, yeah, you want your firewall to fail? Like, you got to spend on this. You got to spend. You don't have to spend more than 1,000, but we looked at that switch, and that switch cost 2,000. So, to think that you can do this for 500 and have it be stable long term for your business, and you won't ever have an outage, that's a silly thought. I don't think you should tell a customer that they're silly, but it's that's what it costs. There's just no way around it unless you're okay with not you're just doing it for a learning project like I am. You're just doing it for your home network, and you're okay with if it goes wrong, just plug everything back into the combo device that came from the ISP and kind of forget about the project. So the best alternative you can do is repurpose an old desktop PC. So so if so this is something where you can ask around and see if anyone has an old one they want to just give it to you. You might even have an old one yourself. So but the thing is, this is what I went with, because they're reliable. I mean, these things just, people have trouble getting rid of them, and like they continue to power up and work. These new no-name mini PCs that are just junk, it's probably not as reliable as a Dell. Um, um, you know, so and then the thing is, you can slot your own card into it. You can slot a card of your choice into it because it's just a motherboard, and you know exactly what it is. So there you go. The other thing is, you might not even have to buy anything. You can ask around and see if like a neighbor has something you can have, or something like that. That can be like that can be your best option for sure. Even if you don't have that option, you can try to go to a recycling center, even like a Goodwill electronics section. There's a lot of options. It's just, if you're a small business, an old desktop PC from a bargain bin might not last. So, but if you're like me and just doing this as a learning project and because you want to run these services, this is probably the best option. And then, the other really important thing to mention about this guide is everything is modular. Like if I want to, if my motherboard on my old desktop PC fails, I just buy a newer desktop PC, or and I have the NIC already, so I don't have to get an Intel NUC. I can just, I might even have my own PC that ends up failing. So like, I have what I need already basically. So um, I can just upgrade individual components, which is really important for a network to have that modularity. So it's super cost effective, and it's the way to go, I think, rather than a NUC. A NUC, I would definitely say, if you're a small business, you can't have your network just quit on you. You can't take the extra, because it takes some extra time to really find a suitable old desktop PC if you don't have it already. I mean, if you're a small business and you have old PCs laying around, hell yeah, do it. Like get the old PC, order the NIC, you're good. But like the more you spend, especially on really high quality gear, typically, the better outcome you might have. So it's definitely a good idea to get an Intel NUC that he recommends. But you can probably save a few $100s by using an old PC. And if you have the gear already, you can also save time. Just slot it in, and you're good as long as you have the NIC. So that's the first thing to do, is just to make sure you have the right hardware. And then the next thing to do is to see if you can get the hardware for free or for like a really discounted cost. And then the third thing to do is just buy the stuff you need. So I kind of got to that step three a bit. So I bought this Art of the Server NIC for $60, which is a good price, I thought. This is gonna last as well. This will be a modular component where, if later in my life I actually can use 10 gig or even 2.5 gig. Um, Now I don't have to throw this out. I can just throw out the motherboard it's attached to, and upgrade that old PC that's built around it. But this I can keep for, I'll probably have this for the rest of my life, because I doubt though there will be, I'll have it for at least another 10 years, because I doubt there'll be a time where, especially just on your home network, you can get more than 10 gig, and that makes sense. Like I could see it happening with AI, like advancing uh tech, like home consumer gear, if that happens. But like I haven't seen, like I'd be really surprised if we got to a point in my lifetime where uh, 100 gig NICs were common in every household. And even so, it probably ought to negotiate down to 10. So this $60 is probably going to last me my entire life. I'll probably have this somewhere in a, either in production in my home lab, in my production in my house. On not even on my home lab, on my actual firewall, which is providing services for me that I can use all around the world to like store my pictures and videos as I travel or something like that. I'll have this for the rest of my life, and it'll be able to, unless it quits out on me. But man, that's a good deal. That those dollars are going to last for a long time. And then the other purchase I made was a Dell Optiplex, and I had a discussion about this with ChatGPT. We can see the slot is right here that it'll connect into. So we talked about this with ChatGPT, and it should slot in there, hopefully. Um, it's this is a different adapter from what I understand. This is a 8X. This is a PCIe 3.0 8X, and ChatGPT told me that this is a 16X, but it told me that the 16X is compatible with the 8X. It's just I won't be able to run 10 gig because the what this slots into doesn't have enough power for 10 gig, but it should be fine if I'm running it at 1 gig. So if I need to run 10 gig, this thing's got to get put in the trash. But again, I can probably pull out the power supply from it. I can pull out the fans from it. Definitely pull out the hard drive from it, and like it's modular. Like I was actually looking at the case. I have the case, so I can buy a mini ATX. Just I can I can for $70, I can go to 10 gig. Like wow, isn't that insane? Like with this setup here, for $70 I can go to 10 gig if I need to, but for now I don't need to. And I got the grade C as well because these grades are based on cosmetic damage only. So grade C has signs of considerable usage, most commonly large scratches, dents, broken off plastic, cracks, worn corners, and/or discoloration. So then screens, that's where it could matter, but there's no screens on this. So, why wouldn't I want that? This is just a router to sit there, and I'm not using it for anything. So I got the grade C. I saved $25 by doing that. I got the NIC. So for under $200, now I got killed on shipping, so it was about 200. I think I have the precise shipping numbers here. Yeah, so it ended up costing 75.60 there. So let's actually run the number 75.60. Okay. And then this was, yeah, that ended up being 75.60, and then this ended up being 132.03. So yeah, a little bit over 200, not that 170 mark from before, but man, like I got everything I need. I just slot that card in here, and this is my router. Um, I'll have to buy the switch as well, the $15 switch. But again, everything is modular, right? Like this is never going to change. Like 10 years, 20 years from now, I go and I move into a house. All I do is I yank out this for like $70. I don't even have to yank out this whole box. I just yank out the motherboard in the box, replace it with an ATX. Everything else is probably fine. And then, that's a $70 upgrade. Um, and then my Switch, which I will have to buy a $15 Switch if I want to do a camera system, if I want to do some like smart home stuff. Um, then I take that $15 Switch, yank it out for a $2,000, $3,000 beast, and I'm up and running, and I can do that, and nobody else can without hiring somebody, like me, who knows what they're doing in this regard. So what I'm doing is I'm building a upgradable modular network where at any point in my life, if I want to do something more sophisticated on my home network, I can do that in a really like pinpointed, targeted way. So I think it's worth it. The costs are pretty low. I'm going to try to get through this whole guide, and I'm going to try to be set up exactly like Lewis Rossman is set up. So yeah, that's it for this video. Those should be coming probably somewhat soon. I'm not sure when the dates were. It's probably in the email. There's probably a tracking in the email tracking number in the email. Yeah, so that's it for this video. And in the next video, I'll have that gear here. I'll be swapping it together. Yes, I'll be slotting that card in the motherboard and then powering everything up, and then changing the connections on my home network. And then I'll have to do some more purchases. I'll definitely have to buy that $15 Switch. Kind of unfortunately, but it should be fine. And yeah, I'm gonna make this work. So yeah, cool things to come. I've got everything I need now for the router, and I'll continue to work through this guide. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.